to iReadit, bringing you your daily dose of the internet for Sunday, February 24th, 2019. I am Michael Schwan, and I am alone. Nathan has come down with the flu over this weekend and was hoping that he would feel better by this morning, but you don't really know until you wake up. And, well, he woke up and, well, he don't feel better yet. So, but that's okay. That's okay. You get me. I'm here. I'm feeling good. I'm pretty excited. Yeah. So welcome everybody. Hello. Glad to have you here. Got lots of fun things to talk about. We'll go ahead and go over, just quickly like how I'm doing. I'm doing great. Things are well. If things seem a little quiet, I am sorry. I don't know why. I can even see looking at my audio levels that they look low. But I mean, low is always better than being overly loud or blowing out speakers and stuff like that. So either way, here I am. My week's been good. Okay. Well, my week started out the way that Nathan's week is finishing. I actually got food poisoning on Monday, which was a holiday, thankfully, so I didn't miss too much work. I did miss work on Tuesday. I got food poisoning from the McDonald's. If you're here in Anchorage, I'm going to go ahead and just throw them right on the bus. It was the McDonald's over on Diamond, across the street from the Diamond Center, in front of like the Michaels and stuff. Yeah, so I got the number 10, the double cheeseburgers, but I asked for no cheese because, well, I think McDonald's cheese is kind of gross. But yeah, it didn't taste wrong or anything like that. It tasted perfectly fine, but it definitely made me start dying from like 4 a.m. till 4 p.m. I could do nothing but just like lay around in pain. So that's fun. Oh, I'll get those first sips of coffee nice right in the morning. It's great. I actually hadn't had any yet, and that's nice and warm. It's like the whole soul. So yeah, other than that, my week's been pretty good. Some like life developments and changes. I've talked a couple previous times on this show about how I'm wanting to do things like start up a YouTube series and start streaming things. I have lots of like just creative drive that I need to put things towards now that we're not doing this show 4 days a week anymore. And so I used to have, well, for today, I have a group of guys that I would always hang out with on Sunday. We do things like play Magic the Gathering or board games, or we do things like play Dungeons and Dragons, whatever, things like that. Due to just some other circumstances and shortage of time, especially, with having a family and getting married and everything else and full-time job, I've actually decided that I'm going to stop that Sunday group so that I can focus more on things like this, things like streaming or things like creating videos. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it goes well. I'm very excited about it. I want to get some multiplayer gaming like actually done beyond just like scrambling for it with Tony. Tony's been on the show before. He's filled in for Nathan before, but there's been times during my life and throughout the week, especially over this last like year or so, that I've just been like scrambling to try and like get some multiplayer video game play in my life. And it's often like, all right, well, Jennifer's making dinner and then she needs the computer for homework, so I'm just going to just play one game of Hunt Showdown with Tony right now and then just call that a day. And I would like more of that in my life, and so I'm adapting Sundays to be part of that. Just as a note, since I'm solo and I don't have someone to pass it off to, I will be pausing on occasion to drink liquids, because it is important to stay hydrated and keep that whistle wet when you are broadcasting, when you're talking to people. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. But without anything else, let's just go ahead and get into today's news topics. Maybe. Aw, yeah. 10. New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft charged with soliciting prostitution. This was submitted by Today I Learned 83 to our news. Yeah, okay. So it wasn't necessarily that they went after Robert Kraft himself. The authorities were actually shutting down a chain of spas in the Orlando area, all that were rub and tug services, for lack of a better term or more polite term. So, and it was just amongst their investigation shutting these down, they found that Robert Kraft was one of the people that commonly went there. And so he's being charged with solicitation and prostitution. Now, he is 77 years old and is a billionaire. So I don't think that he's real concerned about it, or anyone else. I mean, he's going to get an absurdly good lawyer, and I imagine this will actually probably just get thrown out by some magical means, because that's what you do when you have lots of money and you have good lawyers, and that's just what happens. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Good. I don't know what part of me does make me wonder, like, at what point prostitution became illegal, because like there are places in the world where it is legal. I mean, me and Nathan had a story, or was it a proposed thing, or damn it, I don't remember. Someone was proposing essentially like drive-through prostitution shops, but they like provided employment to these women who are willing to provide this service, and also provided them protections. They had armed guards with them at all times, proper, health preventions, things like that. And so, like, I mean, I know it used to be insanely popular, and I'm not sure what resulted in it being illegal. I don't know, maybe dudes didn't like women being able to make money however they so chose. I don't know. Maybe it was a church thing, but while I am not interested in such services, it is interesting to me that there are so many people that are so vehemently opposed to it. And my immediate brain does go to religious lines of religion affecting local law, and a lot of things that we have today are based off of religion of old. So I don't know. Guess we'll find out, but we'll see if Robert Kraft, whatever, if anything actually happens to him. Something tells me no.
9.
Sea turtle populations soared by 980% after legal protections. This was submitted by Clandestine Us to Our World News. So all this does is just tell me that we just need to just go as hard as we can on protections for things. So this is a research of, oh crap, where did the actual years go? Because we were having a major problem with we still have a major problem with tons of different species and stuff just getting completely destroyed. And one of the best things we can do is just start like telling people that they are just horrible human beings and need to start harvesting nature for their own short-term gains. And one of that involves sea turtles, and we've gotten a ton of sea turtles now. Well, I say a ton, but I mean, if you only have 10 left and you get a 980% increase, you're still not looking at exactly that many. And we had more than 10, but you get the idea of that. 1,000% increase of a small number is it's not that much. 1,000% of 10 is just 10,000. Like, woo! But I mean, it works. It's a start. We're getting places on that. And I mean, we can also look at like the Hawaiian humpback whales. Back in 1979, we estimated we only had about 800 of those left, and now at the last count, which was in 2015, they are around 10,000. So, great increase there. We saw an increase of right around like 125% or something like that. So, stuff like that is what we want to see. It's good. And like, especially when me and Nathan have talked previously about how like things like giraffes are now on the endangered species list. And I mean, there was a thing being passed around Facebook about how the blue macaw, I think is the name of the actual bird, the bird that the movie Rio was based off of, they're just extinct now. Like they're just extinct. We don't even have enough of them to help. We don't even have enough of them to put them in captivity to help them regrow themselves. Like there's just none left. Like after the ones that we do know of exist die off, we just won't have them anymore. Like those will just be a creature that doesn't exist. It'll go the way of the dodo. Like it'll just be gone. Because people suck. Because people want them for private collections or because they have pretty feathers. Because we some disgusting, greedy creatures, right? And yeah, like giraffes. Like I had no idea that giraffes were also something were being poached. Like I knew, like me and Nathan have talked multiple times about, you know, rhinos being poached and elephants being poached, mostly for either like rich sport or their horns and tusks for the medicine that they're used to create in China. But I didn't know things like giraffes or sea turtles and things like that. But I guess if anything has any level of profit to it, being like humans are just ready to just collect them up, chop them up, and send them off to the bin. So, which I mean, like if that's your livelihood, if that's how you make money, like let's look at like farmers that make money off of like we'll look at dairy farmers or cattle farmers. We'll go with cattle farmers. If you're a cattle farmer and you make your money by, you know, killing a cow and cutting it up and selling its meat off, you don't just completely demolish your herd all at once. Like why? You wouldn't do that. You should maintain it so that you get a continued result out of it, because if you kill them all, that now your business is done. Your business is over. Like if you want to take this from a purely like business standpoint, it makes no sense, but I guess they don't care. Like they're on the lines of life is short. I'm going to make as much money as I can real quick, relax, and then die. I guess. I don't know. I really don't know. It confuses me to no end.
8.
All right, let me get this actually tapped in here. Bernie Sanders announces 2020 presidential run. This was submitted by Politics Moderator Bot to Our Politics, and that's because they've taken a bunch of news articles and smushed it into one place so that it's not posted literally 40 times. Anywho, so, yeah, Bernie Sanders is running for president again, which, I don't know, I'm conflicted on, because, hang on, I'm going to share this stream real quick to my timeline to see if anyone wants to jump in here. No, not on a friend's timeline, on my timeline. Join me. Anyway, so Bernie Sanders is running for president again, and like he was the candidate that I liked the most, and I think there was a lot of people that liked Bernie Sanders. I do definitely 100% believe that if it would have been Bernie versus Trump, that Bernie would have just exploded there wouldn't have been a contest. But Hillary Clinton's a star maker. She makes stars out of people. And, well, we saw what happened there. And thankfully, there was one little article of that she was considering running again. And then, like, everyone and their dog was like, yeah, please don't. Just please don't. And, so she doesn't seem to be coming back in. But Bernie Sanders is. And while I'm excited about it, I'm glad to see Bernie Sanders running, because there's a lot of things on Bernie Sanders' platform that me and Nathan have like harped about over and over and over again. Just things like proper protections to people, things like accessible tuition, accessible health care, things like this, things that people should have that they just don't. And that's why a lot of people like Bernie Sanders. And, you know, a lot of, you know, the conservative crowd or people even that slightly lean right at all just like point at Bernie Sanders and just like, oh my God, he's a socialist. That socialist gonna ruin America. Capitalism is ruining America too. I don't understand what your point is. But I have a concern this time with Bernie Sanders running for president. And it's not just that Bernie Sanders is running for president. It is that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are both running for president. That's a problem. Mostly because, and I admit that I have not checked, but so if they're both on the Democratic ticket, then they're going to go up against one another in the primary. Okay, whoever ends up going through on the primary goes to the general and faces off against the Republican opponent. Well, depending on, you know, several factors, I believe that either of them could win in that circumstance. But I'm also concerned that one of them is going to go like independent or something like that, which would which would be good in one fashion, but terrible in another. It'd be good because I definitely believe that they would garner a very large percent of the vote, and if they do, that's awesome. Because if a third party, I think they only need to get 5% of the total vote across America for that whatever party they're with to be an actual party and get recognized on a political level by the federal government, which gives them a lot more power, a lot more sway. And that would be the first major step towards moving away from a 2-party system to a 3, 4, 5+ party system, which is beneficial to us. Choice is good. So if one of them did decide to go independent, that is the benefit. The major detriment is that if in the general election Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are on the same ticket, if you want to talk about a split vote, there's your split vote. Jennifer Cruz is in the chat room saying hat thief. Well, I didn't want to turn the light on because I didn't want to wake you up, and I thought it was my hat that said that said love is love, love is love, love is love, because it looks very much like this one in the dark. And it was not, and I didn't want to go back in the bedroom and wake you up. So I apologize. I have stolen your hat for the next 45 minutes. Anyway, so yeah, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, if they're both on the same ticket, are going to hardcore split the vote. Now, if they're splitting the vote between one another on the primary ticket, that makes sense. That's perfectly fine. Whoever is, the more supported candidate is going to go on to the general. However, if I definitely 100% believe that if one goes third party and we see Republican Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren on the ticket in the general, whoever the Republican is wins, just unquestionably, because they won't have a divided vote where everyone that is anywhere between the center to the left is going to be hardcore split between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Like, they are just different enough to completely split that vote. I like them both. I would be happy with either one of them. I think they are both very powerful, very good choices compared to a lot of other people that we've been presented with in the past, and that's on both sides of the aisle. But I do think that they could be chopping each other's legs off if they are not careful with how they approach the 2020 election. But it's only February of 2019, which is also something I have a problem with. Not that it is February of 2019, but presidential terms are only 4 years, and the election is almost 2 years away, and we are already looking at the election itself. Like, there is still 16 months of work to do. 18 months. There's 18 months of work that still needs to get done by everyone between now and the November election. I despise how early people can begin campaigning. It's fucking ridiculous how early people can begin campaigning. Because, Trump's been campaigning since he got into office. He's been holding rallies and stuff for his re-election since, last year. Since 2017, even. And it's that is such a waste of time and resources when people should just be working. In the state of Alaska, the state legislature, the House of Representatives for the state of Alaska, their terms are 2 years. 2 years. And they are able to file their paperwork to run again to retain their seat 18 months before the date of the election. They go into office in January and can refile for that office in May and begin campaigning again. It amazes me how much time of a public servant's time is wasted with trying to stay being a public servant when they should instead be taking that time to work. But no, instead we're just going to just essentially be like a political celebrity and just run around. They're all guilty of this. I'm not giving anybody an exception here, but the amount of time and money that they would just happily throw away, and well, where are you? Well, I'm currently in Virginia, on my campaign trail. And it's yeah, but we got votes that we got actual work that needs done. Yeah, I'll be back next week. Sorry. It's stuff like that. It irks me. I hate it because it feels unnecessary and is a waste of time, money, resources, everything, because people aren't doing work. They're concerned about staying in their office. But the actual core of this conversation at this point is that Bernie Sanders is running for president again in 2020. He also raised a shitload of money in the first day. He raised like 3.4 million or something his very first day that he had his donations open.
7.
Michigan powerlifter heroically lifts vehicle pinned on top of man after accident. This was submitted by ICPD 30 to our news. This is cool. This is one of those situations of like the right person being in the right place at the right time. So Ryan Belcher, who is 29, he had just gotten off work. He's a Michigan powerlifter. He weighs 350 pounds and can squat 950 pounds. He walked out of work and heard an accident and went over to where he heard the accident and saw four small, weak boys trying to move a car off of a young black man. And he's like, hang on, move. And just like weaseled his way in there and then just heaved the car up off the way so they could get the guy out from under it. And then he dropped the car back down. Straight up Superman it. Power to you, sir. I would like to just congratulate you and thank you for being in the right place at the right time to help save this young man's life. Yeah, thank you. You deserve more. You deserve more recognition than our humble little show is going to be able to give you. But all the same, I'd like people to know that you exist. All right, moving along. I need more.
6.
I need more coffee. Hang on. Oh, yeah, that's the good stuff. Slipknot singer says Imagine Dragons have replaced Nickelback as the worst band. This was submitted by... Oh, no. This was submitted by Big Nut Loads to our music. Okay. So Nickelback and Slipknot actually had some beef back in like 2017 when I think we actually even talked about it because geez we talk about everything. Thanks Reddit. They had a beef back then because Slipknot basically said that Nickelback was like just the worst band ever made, and Nickelback was talking about how, you know, like if you have to beat each other up on stage and throw open your own mask every night, like how good can your music actually be? Which is fair. It's fair, but I mean, some bands are more for the spectacle, like Michael Jackson, Britney Spears. You know, those are performances that you go to. You don't just go to hear them sing; you go to see them perform. And I feel like that's a lot of what Slipknot is in Slipknot's defense of that. It's not necessarily about the music. Like people love to criticize, especially we'll go with Britney Spears of like, oh my God, I can't believe she lip syncs. It's like, I want to see you get on stage and do even 10% of the shit that she does with the dance and the flip and all that fucking shit. And I want to see you do that and still be able to sing clearly. I don't believe you. I don't believe you can. I don't believe most people can because the human body doesn't work that way. However, now in 2019, Slipknot, maybe just in an effort to stay relevant, has decided to take shots now at Imagine Dragons about, again, how much they suck, how samey they are. And I just want to say this because, like, sure, that's a very fair criticism that you can provide to a lot of bands. I remember back when I was in high school, one of the popular bands was Chevelle, and I did not enjoy them because they were so, like, every song to me did sound exactly the same, and that was a problem. And I didn't enjoy their sound enough for it to matter. But I would like to state that it is not a bad thing if all of your music sounds the same. If you have the same pattern, the same riffs, the same type of music, you have the same general feel year after year for 20 years in a row, that's fine. And here's why. Because some bands, let's look at bands like Linkin Park, who early Linkin Park, some of the most beloved music in history, early Linkin Park, especially like the Meteor album, or early 3 Days Grace, and then later compared to like later 3 Days Grace, especially once they lost Adam Grantier. If we look at those types of bands and how much I don't want to say how much they've fallen from the limelight, how much criticism they received for changing from their signature sound, and as artists, they didn't want to just keep making the same music, which I completely understand. They wanted to grow. They wanted to try different things, do different things. But then you do have bands that are comfortable with doing their formula, whether it's just because they enjoy it or because they're focused on, a career and like this was what works. Nickelback, you can listen to some of the first Nickelback songs and listen to Nickelback's most recent album, and you would not be able to tell if someone just presented them to you blindly, you probably couldn't tell which one was from which year. But that has also earned Nickelback an immense amount of accreditation when it comes to just how relevant they are. They are actually one of the biggest, most successful bands in the world, and they have a massive following because people like what they sell. And they've never changed what they sell. You don't, if it works, you don't have to change it. So just because Imagine Dragons now, all of their songs, yes, very similar. Very, very similar. But if you like it, you're on board for it. I tried to type. There we go. Yeah, if you're on board for what Imagine Dragons is selling and they never change what they're selling, you're always going to be on board unless you get tired of it. But for a lot of people's music changes, they kind of fit, they find where they're at and they just stay there. And so that's what's helped, that's what's made Nickelback still relevant 20 years after they started. I don't actually know if they started 20 years ago. I just have no concept of time, and I feel like it's been 20 years. But it's going to be the same thing for Imagine Dragons. So I feel like that criticism is dead. It doesn't work anymore. It's useless. Like, oh, their music sounds the same. Yeah, but they're still selling more albums than you, so their samey music is more relevant than you changing things all the time. So... yeah, I don't agree with the singer of Slipknot, but to each their own. I mean, as creators, do whatever you want to do, but understand that everyone else is going to do the same thing, even if it means doing the same thing. So,
5.
Get the little thing dropped in there. There we go. YouTube just demonetized anti-vax channels. This was submitted by Adam Cannon to Our Technology. This is great. I actually saw just recently I keep up on Reddit all the time because it's part of where I live. I probably spend more time on Reddit than I do Facebook because Facebook's only good for memes. But in any case, so recently, yeah, it was in Madagascar that measles outbreaks in Madagascar have grown to a total of 68,912 cases since October. So in 4 months, almost 70,000 cases of the measles in October, including almost 1,000 deaths. And that's reported by the World Health Organization. Or we have the measles outbreaks in Vancouver, which we're actually going to be talking about in just a little bit, the measles outbreaks in Seattle. And all of this is due to this absurd idea that vaccines are bad for you, that vaccines can cause autism, vaccines can, I don't give a shit, any of them. Whatever your argument is, it always sucks. Unless you, as an individual, are allergic to something that is in that vaccine, you should be vaccinated. That is why we have such great health today, is thanks to medical science. Because of things like vaccines. That's why polio doesn't basically exist anymore, because of vaccines. And there are large groups and societies and circles that are dedicated to the continued propagation of anti-vaccination, which is, oh God, it's disgusting. And they were also finding a platform and a voice on YouTube. After a ton of criticism and pushback, YouTube said, cool, we're done. And so they're not taking him down because YouTube is so large, so massive, so huge that they can't, unless it literally is breaking a law of some sort. Like, I mean, the videos that have come, like there's been a large discovery recently of a child pedophilia ring on YouTube, and thankfully that is being cracked down on. But unless they're breaking a law, which technically telling people that they shouldn't get vaccinations is not illegal. I know. Depressing. I understand. But they can't take the videos down because it doesn't technically break terms of service. It's not breaking their end user license agreement. It's not breaking the law. And because of how large they are and how much of of a platform YouTube is, if they just start taking these down because they don't like them, while they do have that ability as a private company, or a publicly traded company, they also have the problem of that can actually be infringing on free speech, because they're so large that actually is technically now a platform that you have the ability to broadcast yourself on. And that actually has legal precedents that's set through in the European Union. They have made that order go through, that Google, YouTube, because of how much control they have over how much access they have, the percent of people that only access those platforms, they actually do have a requirement towards free speech. But they don't have to pay you. And so that's what the direction they're taking is. They're like, okay, we're going to restrict access to these videos. We're only going to, like, if people don't want to see them, that's an easy thing for them to turn off. We're not going to give them money. We're not going to monetize them. It's kind of like when your boss can't fire you. So instead they just cut your hours down to 10 hours a week to get you to quit. That's basically what YouTube is doing here, which is cool. Good on you, YouTube. You fuck up a lot, which I understand, though, that YouTube is also in a position that, like, the world's eyes are literally always on them, so it's really easy to fuck up a lot. But at least we see them addressing issues at times and moving forward with it. So I'll give you credit, YouTube. Thank you.
4.
Cannabis may pose a long-term risk to the alcohol industry. This was submitted by RNX to the Moon to Our World News. So basically, they conducted a study, and basically that as cannabis sales go up, as cannabis sales go up, marijuana sales go down. Figure out that logic. No, as cannabis sales go up, alcohol sales are going down, because people are changing their vice, is really what it is. People are like, man, it used to be legal for me to get drunk. It's still legal, but man, getting drunk kind of sucks. I'm just going to get high instead. And so it's not necessarily posing a threat to the alcohol industry. I mean, last year it was something like 4.3 billion cases of alcohol were shipped, or something like that. That's just an absurd amount. 3.345 billion cases of alcohol in America alone. Now, that is a 0.8% decline over the last 2 years. Oh, God. That's about 7.9 billion gallons of booze, or 160 million bathtubs. Get drunk, America. Fucking turned up, bitches. Anyway, but cannabis is starting to chew into those numbers, which makes sense. It's getting legalized more and more and more across the country, and more people are realizing that it's not that dangerous or detrimental of a substance, where alcohol is really dangerous and detrimental in a lot of ways. Not saying that cannabis has no not saying that cannabis is free from health adverse side effects, because it absolutely is. Anytime you smoke anything at all, that is just absolutely terrible for your lungs, no matter what it is. I don't care if you're inhaling, herbs and minerals or whatever. Yeah, especially minerals, actually. But yeah, I mean, essential oils, like don't like inhaling anything besides very specialized medicine and air are bad for you. Those are the two things that you should inhale. Everything else, keep it the hell away from your lungs. And anyway, so yeah, cannabis will just continue to eat into alcohol sales. I imagine that they'll hit some level of parity once it is legalized recreationally, and I imagine there'll be a couple places that hold out for as long as possible because of the sheer difference in society from one state or even city to the next. But eventually it'll be legal everywhere. It was legal 100 years ago, and then they decided they didn't want it to be legal because one dude said it was bad. And welcome to so many other things. Anyway, and we'll hit this parity, and then we'll all just choose our vice of choice and move on with our lives, because humans like to poison themselves in whatever way they see fit. Oh, speaking of Vancouver, we got there.
3.
33 students at 2 Vancouver schools ordered to stay home until they can prove they've had measles vaccine. This was submitted by Little Boss Man to our world news. So they have a major measles problem that is going on in Vancouver. We have a major measles problem going on fucking everywhere because nobody's vaccinating their kids. And so Vancouver is not being very tolerant of it because screw that, no. And so until students are providing actual doctor's documentation with proof of vaccination, they're not allowed to come to school because you are just infecting other people with things that nobody should have access to. Because the thing is that the one of the things to remember is that like vaccinations don't actually make you immune to things; they just help you avoid it. And that's the important part there. Like, even if you've been vaccinated against something, you can still end up getting it. But if everyone has a very strong resistance to it, it largely doesn't have anywhere to grow to get strong enough to overcome people who are vaccinated. And, well, welcome to our current situation. Now, this is continued on of that. There is actually we have a patient zero in terms of the measles outbreak in Vancouver. The father at the center of that outbreak, this father who has 3 sons, none of which were vaccinated. He didn't vaccinate his children because he didn't trust the science at the time. He was one of those believers that believed it caused autism, and all 3 of his sons ended up getting measles, and because they got measles, they gave measles to a bunch of other kids, and welcome to how that shit works. Because we are delicate, intricate creatures that are just we can't fight off anything to save ourselves. We die from the common cold. Anyway, so yeah, he has since gone back on that. He was worried 10 to 12 years ago. He claims he is not worried today. Maybe. I hope that this problem solves itself sooner than later. I wish everyone in Vancouver, Seattle, Madagascar, and everywhere else that is having this problem the most luck, because this is dumb. This shouldn't be a problem that we have at all, and here we are. Welcome to the world. Man, you know, it used to be that, like, when you were born, you had to roll the dice of, like, all right, where did I get born at? Did I get born in America, or did I get born in, you know, the Congo? Or you were worried, like, the dice roll of life was like, what color skin do I have, and what country was I born in? Now you also have to roll, like, and like, what, there was always the dice roll of like, who are my parents? You know, like, are they good people? Are they bad people? Am I going to be abused? But now you have the dice roll of like, am I just going to fucking die because I got the parents that decided that they didn't want to vaccinate me? Is that an extra factor? Is that another D100 that I have to roll? Like, you could get good. I'm not sure if I can call people who don't vaccinate their kids good parents, but you can get gentle parents, you can get kind parents, you can be born in the right country, you can be born with the right privileges and opportunities and still lose because their parents didn't vaccinate you. Dang, it's amazing any of us are here.
2.
Historian who confronted Davos billionaires leaks Tucker Carlson rant. Okay, so I don't know why the internet decided that this was so important. Like, this was up there. This had something like 100,000 frickin' upvotes. So Rutger Bregman, he's a Dutch historian. He became a global sensation recently after he appeared at the Davos summit, where he basically just called out the world's billionaires for ignoring taxes. Because it's true, like, everyone at the top does everything they can to avoid any level of taxes, while they're like, yeah, tax the poor people. I mean, that's not how that shit works, guy. Like, especially when you're a fucking billionaire, like, you have so much money, like, what do you even care? So he was going to have an interview on Fox News with Tucker Carlson, and basically accused Tucker Carlson during the interview of being part of the problem. Tucker Carlson is a multimillionaire that it continues to talk about the injustices of the top, and it's like, yeah, but you don't do anything on your own end, and basically said that as a millionaire, he's just being controlled by the billionaires. And, you know, Tucker Carlson basically told him that, what did he say? That he was a fucking moron and he can go fuck himself. And they didn't air the interview because Tucker Carlson lost his cool. And then so Mr. Bregman just was like, all right, well, I have a platform. So he was recording the interview on his side and just posted the whole interview. or at least the outbreak from Tucker Carlson. And then Tucker Carlson responded on Fox News, was like, yes, we had this interview. Yes, he accused me of this stuff. I do apologize for using profane language, but I do sincerely believe the statements that I said. I do sincerely believe that he is a moron. Nobody is controlling me. I can say whatever I want. Thank you. Goodbye. That's the story. That's it. That's the whole thing, which is, so it's one like well-off dude attacking another. It's one woke well-off dude attacking a disillusioned well-off dude, and nothing's gonna change on any substantial level. So yeah, it's the best. This next one, though, I really wish there was more information about it, because it got some concerns.
1.
Multiple whistleblowers raise grave concerns with White House efforts to transfer sensitive United States nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia. This was submitted by, if I can see it, Cannabis to Our World News. You know it's something when multiple people come forward to say something. So there was an issued interim staff report regarding that the United States was trying to not only transfer, but as quickly as possible, accelerating the process of transferring United States knowledge of nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia. Which, I mean, of all the places we're sending it, that's not where we want to send it. Though, like, no, and like that's all we have, because the whistleblowers couldn't exactly provide a ton of information. They just like needed to be like, we need to put pressure on the government so that they don't do this. So yeah, because we can't do that. I mean, you can, but doing it in this way, if you are transferring highly sensitive information from the United States to Saudi Arabia under the current circumstances, it's a violation of the Atomic Energy Act, because we are trying to restrict and lower the amount of people that have nuclear technology rather than passing it around like the blueprints to a farm shed. And you also can't do it without a review of Congress. So Congress has to approve it. So if the United States is just like, I'm just going to send this in an email. It's great. It's awesome. I need coffee. Yeah, it bothers me. Concerns me a lot. A lot. It's all right, though. Oh, what the? There we go. Got it. We got there, fam. We got there.
Oh shit!
Listener submission. EVA air flight attendant says she was forced to wipe passenger's butt. This was submitted by OTT2K6 to our iReddit cast. Submitted it on our subreddit. Thank you so much, our Canadian friend. So a female EVA air flight attendant said that they were forced to undress a passenger and clean his backside. The guy was being extremely disruptive. He said that he needed to go to the bathroom really bad. He wanted the door open to the lavatory so that because he couldn't breathe with the door closed. I mean, which I can understand that those bathrooms are really small, but at the same time, like for the sake of like things, you have to have that door closed. But then he allegedly refused to leave the washroom unless someone helped him clean his backside. And then even after like one of the flight attendants like was like holding him and the other one was wiping, he was apparently yelling at them to wipe deeper, which is nope. That so thankfully EVA is investigating it. They've issued a statement that they take safety and well-being very, very, very seriously, and that they do have guidelines for passengers with special needs, but you have to provide prior notice, because if you need special assistance during flights, and that their cabin crew is not required to assist passengers, feed them, administer medications, anything like that, and that it sounds like the flight attendants might not know this. They can refuse at any point at all to assist a passenger. I mean, it's no different than like, we can refuse service to anyone at any time that we please. Your flight attendant can do the same thing. If you're just being, if you're making unreasonable demands, they can just ignore you. Now, I mean, yeah, seriously. Also, like, what's wrong with you? The only thing it doesn't say here, the only thing I can imagine is this dude was drunk. I don't know. Anyway. What I care about over the last week. I talked a little bit about things that I cared about at the beginning of the show. The thing that I cared about over the last week actually happened in the last 24 hours. I'm going to give a quick shout out to somebody who does not need the shout out, but I just have to give a massive thank you to Markiplier. Markiplier is a very, very successful YouTuber on YouTube. He has 24 million subscribers. He is a multi-millionaire through YouTube, but he is a very kind person. And he did nonstop a 24-hour live stream that just ended exactly 1 hour ago. It ended at 8:45 a.m. Alaska time, 9:45 a.m. Pacific time. And he did a 24-hour charity live stream with the goal of, in 24 hours, raising $500,000 for charity. He raised $505,000 in 24 hours. That entire amount is going to go to a place called My Friend's Place. My Friend's Place, it's a charity that assists and inspires homeless youth to help build them self-sufficient lives. So if they find these kids that are just in some of the worst situations imaginable and get them back on their feet, get them back into society, get them with a place to stay, with a future, with a job. And so he raised $500,000. Ooh, I'm okay. For that organization to help homeless youth. All right, I'm okay. And it's one of the things that I really like to see with these people that are wildly successful, with when we see like Bill Gates and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, all the work that they've done in the world. Successful people that have the platforms and have the money and resources to do things that people otherwise wouldn't. Is one of the things that I love. I'm okay. Because like, while you can criticize people like Markiplier for, like, I don't know, Markiplier recently launched a clothing line called Cloak, and a pair of pants cost $80. People are like, oh, he's just grabbing for money. At the same time, he turns around and does shit like this. People like to criticize PewDiePie, the largest YouTuber, #1 subscribed YouTube channel currently. He has something along the lines of like 87 million subscribers. He has been fighting against a channel called T-Series, #subscribe to PewDiePie. T-Series is a production company out of India. That is like making music videos, short films, stuff like that, and they're exploding. They're always like within somewhere like 50,000 to 1 million subscribers, right behind PewDiePie. So there's been this huge drive to not let T-Series pass them. What does PewDiePie do while over these last several months, while he's been fighting to stay in front of T-Series? It's like every 2 weeks or like once a month, he does a live stream where it's a charity live stream where all of the funds from those live streams go to help children in India. He's fighting against the largest company in India who is about to surpass him in subscriber, and he's like, you know what? I'll just raise money for your youth because I'm not a piece of trash. People like to criticize him because like he said the N-word one day during a stream, and it's like, you know what? Like, yes, that may not have been his best move in life, but he's still contributing more to the world than the like keyboard warriors that were just, assaulting him for using a derogatory racial slur. Like, yes, I understand. But at the same time, I can't. It wasn't like he, went out and shot somebody. I'm okay. So while he doesn't need in terms of any personal growth, I do need to I do need to give the credit to Markiplier for not only staying awake for 24 hours, which once you're no longer 20 anymore is no longer easy. I remember like doing like, all right, I'm going to stay up all night. No sweat. Mom would come and check on me in the morning. Hey, what time did you go to sleep? Haven't slept yet. And it's like 9 a.m. The sun's up. And I'm like, woo! Now I'm like, oh man, I've been awake for like 14 hours. It's like 8 p.m. I'm ready for bed. So yeah, power to Markiplier, staying awake 24 hours, and raising $500,000 for my friend's place to help homeless youth. Thank you. I intend to probably this week begin my own YouTube and streaming journey. I've talked about it a couple of times. I finally got my intro. I've got everything set up, and like, okay. And part of that is the desire to be able to do things just like that. I love seeing organizations like Awesome Games Done Quick, Summer Games Done Quick, where you just have so many gamers and things that are getting together. Extra Life is another great organization where they're just streaming to raise money for whatever cause they see fit, whether it's, you know, young kids that can't afford their own medical bills because fuck you, healthcare. We don't understand what that is. Or, you know, people that just need help, because I like seeing people help people. And while I can make my own meager donations, I believe that I could build up to a platform that people like Markiplier have. Maybe not to his size. I would love it if I could. That'd be amazing. But I would like to contribute to that in more ways than just saying that they did an amazing job, that we need more people like them. I want to be somebody like them. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. I can't control myself anymore. Ugh. I'm okay. All right, we're gonna get out of here. I'm done. I need to go. I can't talk about this anymore. All right. If you would consider supporting this show to keep this show running, patreon.com/dailyinternet is the funding source specifically for iReadit. When I do launch my own stuff, that's gonna be almost completely separated. iReadit's been running for over 2 years now. I wanted to keep iReadit and my other stuff completely separated out. So if you want to support iReadit, patreon.com/dailyinternet. There is also a link in the description below, no matter where you're watching this, where you can pick up some merchandise. I had wanted to create more shirts, but time is very short, which I've talked about multiple times, of that there's only so many things that me as one person can focus on. But we do have shirts in there. We have the logo shirt. We have the Sucks to Suck shirt. We have the I Didn't Vote For You shirt. We have the Puns Are Us shirt. If you want a shirt and you want to help support the show, that's the place to do it. I have priced those shirts as low as I possibly can without literally just paying for the price of the shirt, which, like, their recommended prices on those like services are insane, by the way. They're like, you should charge like $40 for a hoodie, and then you'd make $15. And I'm like, yeah, but no one's gonna buy a fucking $15 hoodie. I mean, a $40 hoodie. So yeah, we only make a few dollars off of each of those, but if you like them, they're only like $20. I think the logo shirt is $15. So if you like those shirts, go and get them and help support us and help us grow. Otherwise, you can follow and share the show. Get other people to watch us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Reddit. All of those are at iRedditCast. So follow us there, share us around, and we would love to have your support. Otherwise, if you want to keep up with me, considering I'm launching personal projects very soon, I'm going to have to be more active on social media. You can follow me on almost all of those same ones, at Schwan Michael. I got a pretty unique name. Most of the time you can probably just search my name in whatever facet you want, and I know that I pop up on most of them. So find me if you want to follow me and find out what I'm doing. But otherwise, that is your 535th dose of the internet. I am Michael Schwan. Nathan has the flu, and please remember, everybody,
Well, I didn't vote for you.
have a good day. Nope, wrong one.